And there's our fiend right now. Let's see what you got.
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're leveling up as we grind our way through the PS2 role-playing games that let us forget all our real-world troubles and get lost in a brand new fantastical experience.
Spider-Man, draw them towards the stern.
Sure thing. I just love being a target.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. The Lord of the Rings, The Third Age.
Much will be risked in the war that is to come, but you will justify my trust. This I sense with all my heart.
When most gamers think of the Lord of the Rings games on PS2, naturally their minds conjure up memories of the Two Towers or Return of the King. But there was another adventure that was just as deserving of your time. Telling an original tale parallel to the main story of Frodo and the One Ring, players follow behind the Fellowship and deal with the mess left in their wake, and can even side with Sauron and help ensure Middle-earth's destruction in an evil mode minigame. The turn-based combat borrows heavily from the battle system in Final Fantasy X and is all the better for it. Each character also has their own special skills and can learn new abilities, allowing players to customize their playstyle. For die-hard fans of the films, The Third Age is an incredible companion piece that expands on the world fans are familiar with.
What do you carry that makes you worthy?
Wrath, ruin, a few trinkets. That is all that remains of my life here.
Radiata Stories.
You scared? Yeah, a little, I guess. But it sounds way cool, too!
It sounds cool?
Admittedly, Radiata Stories isn't going to be for everyone. The story prefers to take its time getting going, fully establishing the game's world and characters rather than throwing players headfirst into climactic conflicts. However, once the story begins ramping up and you start to build your party of almost 180 recruitable characters, all with their own backstories and motivations, it all becomes worth it. With too much content for a single playthrough, thankfully New Game Plus helps ease some of the struggles at the start. Combat is also surprisingly deep as players can issue commands to their party, letting them develop strategies based on their strengths, especially since each member of your party is only proficient in a single skill. Radiata Stories is an RPG that rewards the player's time, even if the slow burn might be a hard sell for casual players.
Well, well, you surprised me, Jack. I suppose that we can trust you from now on.
Final Fantasy XII.
We'll never surrender to you. We are not cattle to be sold by a traitor king.
But the war is over, my dear captain. You have lost.
Final Fantasy XII might not be everyone's favorite Final Fantasy out of Square's extensive catalog, but there's also few who will deny it's one of the most polished and well-crafted entries in the acclaimed series. Marking a stark departure from the traditional turn-based combat of the past entries, Final Fantasy XII not only allowed players to see enemies before encounters, but also introduced a more MMO-style combat system, while also giving players more control over their companions than ever before, thanks to the Gambit system. With it, players can set parameters for companions to perform specific actions if the criteria are met, adding even more strategic depth to the game's solid combat. The massive conflict between warring kingdoms gave players some of the best character writing, music, and cinematics in the series' history, and once the new gameplay mechanics click, you're locked in for one of the franchise's best games.
I'll give it back to you as soon as I find something more valuable.
Wild Arms 3. Wild Arms 3 not only brought its unique Wild West aesthetic to the PS2, but also updated it with a gorgeous cel-shaded art style. Wild Arms 3 gave players a massive open world to explore that gradually reveals itself as the player uncovers new information or purchases maps, giving them plenty of side quests and activities to discover. The Wild West setting is used to great effect in everything from the characters to their weapons and even open world exploration. Combat is improved from its predecessors, allowing players to move freely around the arena, and while it does offer a bit of strategy to its encounters, the game is more focused on the player having a good time rather than a frustrating one. With wonderfully written characters, a deep narrative, and an interesting world filled with a surprising amount of lore, Wild Arms 3 is not your traditional RPG and is all the better for it. Star Ocean Till the End of Time.
Don't worry, Sophia. I'll stick with you.
Thanks.
But who could be attacking us?
Never seen ships like those before.
Star Ocean might not have the same recognition as Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest, but it remains one of the most consistently entertaining RPG series of all time, and one of its best is undoubtedly Till the End of Time. Ditching the traditional turn-based combat, players instead engage in real-time combat alongside their AI companions, allowing them to dodge and even parry incoming attacks while issuing commands to the rest of their team. Borrowing elements from Star Trek, players are dropped onto an underdeveloped planet, and with their advanced technology, must help the locals deal with an otherworldly threat, while also uncovering the mystery of the rumored 4D space. The story admittedly does go to some wild places, but the characters are all solidly written and the world and combat are interesting enough that even if the game doesn't stick the landing narratively, you still had a great time regardless.
You're wrong. They came here of their own accord. No fault lies with you.
Valkyrie Profile 2, Silmeria.
There's no going back now. Let's go.
Valkyrie Profile 2 is unlike any of the other games on our list. Not only does it have one of the most stunning art styles, but also one of the most unique characters in an RPG as war looms between the human world Midgard and the realm of the gods, Asgard. With 2D exploration, players can explore the game's many towns and dungeons, leveling up and upgrading equipment for the game's many challenging battles. While exploration might be two-dimensional, combat is fully 3D. Silmeria offers players a far more strategic style of combat than your traditional RPG, with time only moving when the characters do, allowing players to tactically plan out their next attack with the battle system's limited action points. Valkyrie Profile 2 deserves a playthrough just for its wonderful narrative and art design, but it's the inventive and deep combat mechanics that are unlike anything else the PS2 had to offer.
What? Nothing at all?
Oh, I see. So you were suspicious of us.
No, that's not what I meant.
Champions of Norath.
Champions of Norath, thank you for answering my call in what may be our darkest hour.
Champions of Norath might take place in the universe of the MMO EverQuest, but its roots are very much in traditional Diablo-esque territory. Likewise, players will be hacking and slashing their way through numerous dungeons with their fully customizable character, encountering all manner of beasts while finding even more powerful loot to go even further and become even more powerful. The game itself might not have been especially deep, but it was extremely rewarding with meaningful upgrades to both your gear and your skill tree, making each run feel worthwhile. The addition of multiplayer only increased the amount of entertainment players could have with their friends, but even going solo, the addictive gameplay loop is more than enough to encourage just one more run.
If there is anything to be gained from your interference, then it shall be as entertainment.
Suikoden 3. The Suikoden series is widely respected as one of the best RPG series of all time. And while most of the accolades are heaped on Suikoden 2, the series' third entry is just as deserving of recognition. Featuring 3 incredibly written protagonists whose lives become interconnected as the plot unfolds alongside 108 recruitable companions, which thankfully can be recruited at any time during your playthrough, Suikoden 3 is one of the deepest and most intricately designed RPGs of all time. Suikoden 3 not only offered players a much more mature adventure than typical RPGs of the time, but also a dynamic battle system that would account for the dramatic moments in the narrative and make these encounters feel especially cinematic. With an intriguing world, a diverse and interesting cast of characters, a multitude of minigames, and some of the series' best combat, Suikoden 3 is perfect for players looking for a deep, rewarding RPG experience. Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne.
I won't shed another tear, not even at this world's end. Instead, I can invite you to the world that is to come.
The Shin Megami series is decidedly much more emo than its Persona series cousin, but that undeniably works in its favor. While the two share some similarities, entries such as Nocturne further differentiate the two. Dealing with a demon-riddled post-apocalyptic world is hard enough, but thankfully the many recruitable demons and enemies that can battle at your side ease some of the game's inherent difficulty. With a focus on targeting enemies' weak spots during encounters, the game's many dungeons are full of hidden secrets, and the game fully embraces the weirdness of its concept. Every area is brilliantly designed, much like the game's many characters, and there are multiple endings depending on the player's choices. The Shin Megami series isn't for everyone, and offers a more significant challenge for those coming from the Persona series, but where else can you recruit Dante from Devil May Cry to fight at your side?
Man, that geezer really knows how to sell it.
This job already sucks ass. Oh well, time to get to work.
Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
That dude scares me.
Giving players a roster of Marvel heroes that would make the MCU jealous, and allowing them to build their ultimate team and take on Doctor Doom in a battle for the fate of the planet is a concept so brilliant we're shocked the series isn't still going today. Not only could you recreate your favorite teams from the comics and even gain specific bonuses for doing so, but the game also allowed you to team up with 4 of your friends. Even though there are only 23 playable characters, all with their own abilities and powers, with 140 Marvel characters within the game, your favorite at the very least appears in a cameo. Alongside the main campaign is a series of side missions that can end up affecting the ending of the game depending on how many you complete before the credits roll. For sheer fan service, it doesn't get much better than this.
And you worry too little. How often have we all had victory firmly in our grasp, only to have it snatched away by the heroes?
Xenosaga, Episodes 1 through 3. Admittedly, we're cheating with this entry by including all 3 games of the Xenosaga series in one, but considering all 3 are necessary to get the complete story, we're gonna let it slide because it's our list and we get to make the rules.
Understand? The algorithms I have been programmed with do not support the comprehension of illogical human thought.
A spiritual successor to Xenogears and a precursor to Xenoblade Chronicles, Xenosaga tackled many of the same serious issues present in its predecessors, such as religion, commentary on humanity's place in the universe, as well as the rise of AI and machines. The story of Cosmos and humanity's expansion into the universe and their fight against the Gnosis for control of a godlike artifact called Zohar offers a refreshingly mature take on the conventional RPG storytelling. Originally planned as a 6-part series, Xenosaga was instead cut in half, but still managed to complete its story arc, albeit a bit more abruptly than originally planned.
All systems clear.
Tales of Symphonia. The Tales series is one of the longest-running RPG series in gaming, and while it may not reach the same heights of popularity as the Final Fantasy series, it still has a loyal fanbase. Arguably, one of the most beloved titles in the long-running franchise is Tales of Symphonia, and with its anime-inspired art style and its easy-to-learn, tough-to-master free-flow combat that requires players to think a bit more strategically than other more traditional RPGs, it's easy to understand why. The game's themes of symphony play into the story as well, as actions that Lloyd and his companions make in his world can affect another parallel world and can have dire consequences for both. Tales of Symphonia remains the benchmark for the series, and while there have been other equally beloved entries in the franchise, this is the one that made the series what it is today.
It looks like it is over.
Shadow Heart's Covenant. Set in an alternate history World War I full of secret cults and Lovecraftian horrors, Shadow Heart's Covenant earns its spot on our list just for setting and premise alone. However, the game's unique setting wasn't enough, and Covenant had to one-up itself by implementing one of the most intriguing combat systems in any RPG with the Judgment Wheel. In order to use any attacks, spells, or items, the player must land on that section of the wheel, and missing the area can risk canceling their turn entirely. This system keeps battles frenetic and unpredictable due to one missed wheel turn completely upending a well-planned strategy or combo. Coupled with a sanity meter and the late-game ability to turn into one of numerous monstrosities, Covenant's mature themes and dark Lovecraftian overtones still has fans demanding a sequel even today.
That's as much as I can remember.
Dragon Quest VIII, Journey of the Cursed King.
Ah, so this is what all the fuss was about.
As the inspiration for the arguably more popular Final Fantasy series, Dragon Quest still has a rabid fanbase that eagerly awaits any news of future projects in the franchise. The first fully 3D entry, Dragon Quest VIII doesn't stray too far from the familiar RPG format that made it a mainstay in the industry, and it doesn't need to since it created the template to begin with. Everything from its beautiful art style, courtesy of Akira Toriyama, to the compelling story and wonderfully symphonic music, everything comes together perfectly to create one of the best entries in the franchise that birthed the RPG genre and remains one of the best-selling and well-received RPGs on the PlayStation 2, hands down.
When you all set off so bravely, we decided it was time we did the same. So perhaps you could fill us in.
Rogue Galaxy.
Hey, wait a minute! I haven't decided yet!
Oh, you'll be there, all right. I can see it in your eyes. You were made for the pirate life.
Planet-hopping RPGs might be more common nowadays, but on the PS2, they were almost unheard of. However, that didn't stop Level 5 from creating one of their most ambitious RPGs on the PS2. What begins with a simple setup quickly becomes a galaxy-spanning adventure full of planet-hopping space pirates and an evil that threatens the entire galaxy. In addition to its ambitious story, Level 5 carried over much of what made its Dark Cloud series such a success, including real-time combat and a focus on crafting and leveling up your weapons rather than your character. Equally impressive was the tech under the hood, as the entire game featured 0 loading screens, which was a technical marvel back in the days of the PS2. Rogue Galaxy has since been ported to modern consoles, so if you haven't already, you owe it to yourself to take a trip into the stars.
If you get a chance, could you tell them all about the wonders of civilization for me, would ya?
Baldur's Gate: Dark Alliance. Dungeons & Dragons has had no shortage of video game adaptations over the years, and out of all of them, the Baldur's Gate series is the one most highly regarded and synonymous with the tabletop RPG. Foregoing the turn-based combat of many other adaptations, Dark Alliance uses its hack-and-slash combat to keep players constantly engaged in battle, running the many calculations and dice rolls off-screen so players never need to worry about anything beyond the many creatures right in front of them. The addition of couch co-op gave fans of Diablo a console-friendly version of the dungeon-crawling RPG, and its straightforward approach to the often complicated tabletop game brought in many new fans who would have never known it was something everyone could enjoy. Dark Cloud 2.
This was the beginning of a real adventure.
Level 5's follow-up to their first ever game managed to not only build on everything that made the first title great, but also expand on the mechanics and create an all-encompassing RPG that still puts many modern RPGs to shame with its breadth of content. Tasked with rebuilding the world, players must battle through randomly generated dungeons to collect geostones and rebuild the destroyed villages, while also contending with the many requests of the rescued villagers for a better version of their hometowns. Along with a new art style also came the implementation of time travel that allowed players to travel to the future to see the fruits of their efforts, that makes the many battles they faced in their quests all the more rewarding. It's a shame the series hasn't continued, as we'd love to see how Level 5 could have improved on the series even further.
The outside world. Right then, my heart was filled with expectation, wondering what kind of places I would find.
Kingdom Hearts 2.
You're lucky. Looks like my summer vacation is over.
The original Kingdom Hearts was a concept that shouldn't have worked as well as it did. Combining elements of Final Fantasy games with beloved Disney properties sounds like a fever dream, but ended up being the start of a franchise with a legion of fans still trying to decipher its overarching plot today. Kingdom Hearts 2 streamlined everything fans loved about the first game and improved upon it. Combat was faster, the story was much easier to follow, there was more diversity in the worlds you visited, Donald was useful, and the much maligned gummy ship sections were actually fun. Square Enix even tapped into the coveted Disney Vault and allowed players to explore the worlds of Steamboat Willie and Tron. Kingdom Hearts 2 improved on nearly every aspect and remains many fans' favorite entry in this increasingly convoluted series.
Sora, Donald, Goofy, you guys are too much. If you're ever in the mood for some more cosmic razzle-dazzle, give me a shout, okay?
Final Fantasy X.
It all begins here. 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 It all begins here.
The first entry in the long-running franchise on the PS2, every new Final Fantasy game was an event, but there was something different about Final Fantasy X's release. Thankfully, Final Fantasy X more than met the hype and made some huge leaps for the franchise going forward. The first Final Fantasy title to feature voice acting, as we've said, for better or worse, fully voiced characters added an extra level of depth to their struggles. As opposed to simply reading about their pain and frustrations, now you could hear it. Final Fantasy X was also the first entry to use fully 3D backgrounds, bringing more life to the world as Tidus and his companions openly explored the vast and vibrant landscape. Final Fantasy X marked a turning point for the franchise that every future entry has built upon, but at its core, this is the best and most accessible title for new and old fans alike. Persona 4.
That's the way, Senpai! Well done! Do some more damage! Go, Senpai!
Yes, believe it or not, Persona 4 released on the PS2 almost a full 2 years into the PS3's life cycle. While many experienced the title on Sony's PS Vita, longtime series fans eagerly dusted off their PS2s for what some would argue is the best entry in the franchise. Arguably one of the most stylistic RPGs on the market, Persona 4 just oozes charm with its instantly likable characters living their day-to-day lives, going to class and building friendships, all while investigating a series of murders connected to the TV world. You would think that living out the daily lives of school children would grow tiresome, but the clever writing and numerous twists and turns in the narrative kept players engaged and constantly guessing until the very end. Persona 4 has been re-released numerous times with extra content, and has even seen multiple spin-offs including rhythm and fighting games.
Thank you very much. You're really kind, Sensei. I'll try even harder from now on.
What was your favorite RPG on the PS2? Let us know down in the comments. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.